Hello YouTube, welcome back to my channel. Feels quite good to be back. I missed making videos for y'all. Today I want to demonstrate to you another project which I started working on a few weekends ago. It's a 2.5D pixel art real-time strategy game that is set in an office in the 80s of the previous century. I chose the 80s because some things that I want to be able to do in this game world were okay then and are no longer okay now. This channel has been focused on somewhat higher end 3D stuff so far, for the most part, but honestly, from the very beginning of my game dev adventure, I always wanted to make an RTS pixel game that mixes 3D environments with two-dimensional characters. And this is it. The idea for this game had been on my mind for at least a couple of years, and I've finally gotten down to prototyping it. In this game, you are a CEO, and your task is to build out a business and make it crisis-proof. So basically, you start out with a small office space and some startup cash, and you expand the business, hire people, train them, motivate them, and then they become more efficient, and you make more money, and you're in more office space, and you can hire more people, and so on. In times of prosperity, you expand the team, you invest, but at some point in the campaign, Crisis invades your office. Crisis is going to be personified as a horde of monsters, and your employees will fight them with essentially anything they can find lying around, like keyboards, phone receivers, fire extinguishers, pretty much any office equipment that they can lift. So conceptually, it's a very traditional RTS where your employees are your army and where money is made by running a business as opposed to, say, extracting gold from a nearby mine. Now, I didn't want this to be too primitive looking when I showed it to you, so I made some props and sprites. Making 3D pixel art is tricky AF, as it turns out, let me tell you. You think making high-end 3D scenes is difficult? Nah, that's usually just prefab assets and tweaking the environment node. That's really easy. What actually is difficult is to make simple visuals look good. Probably the hardest thing I've done in my career as game asset creator so far are these freaking sprite sheets. I wanted to have low resolution sprites because I knew that big blocky pixels will look nice in a 3D scene with 3D lighting and such because of the contrast that this creates. The character sprites are animated in 8 directions just to make my life more difficult, I guess. I used a reference animation sheet to make them, this one. I've only made 2 so far. I think it's enough for a prototype. So let's talk controllers for a moment. You can rotate the camera full circle horizontally, and you can also look up and down. You can use the mouse wheel to zoom in and out, and you can drag the map with middle mouse just like you would in any 3D program. Character movement uses good old pathfinding. The units move in 8 directions, as I said. Each unit is a character body with a 3D sprite attached to it with billboard enabled. The character body is set to look at its movement path, so it's always rotated toward its movement vector. I read its global rotation on the y-axis, and based on the angle that I get, I play the sprite animations. 360 divided by 8 is 45, so every 45 degrees I'll swap the animation. And because I can also rotate the camera all around, like so, I have to take the camera's Y rotation into account too. So the rotation value that ultimately determines which sprite animation is played is actually the difference of the character's Y rotation and the camera's Y rotation. Each sprite has animations for walking, sitting, and idle for now. Next I'll need to make some combat animations, I suppose. Initially, I used the navigation agent node in each unit, which works well, but it's very inefficient when you have hundreds of units asking the CPU to calculate their velocities on every frame. So I ended up writing my own movement script. The cool thing about Godot is that you can bypass any node. Nodes are essentially optional. You can just work directly with the servers. So I'm basically asking the navigation server for a path between the current position and the point that I clicked, and it returns an array of path points, and I'm using this cool function move toward to move the node from point to point along the path. But even with this, I had some problems when I tested it with like a couple hundred units. There was significant lag when all of them simultaneously asked the navigation server for a path array. So I built this global path manager function, which a unit can query for a path. The request is then funneled into a queue, and once the path is calculated, it's sent back to the unit. So there's no overloading the navigation server with requests. You basically have a pipeline, and this has pretty much solved the problem. The office is built using a 3D grid map. Actually, a few grid maps. I have one for floors, I have one for walls, and one for ceilings, and I think that's it. I've also made the walls become transparent when they are close to the camera, so they don't obscure the view. The way this works is every few frames I will read the transforms of each wall item in the tile set, and if it's too close to the camera, I will replace it with its see-through version. So I have this basic movement. I have a drag selection of units, individual selection of units. I can also shift select multiple units. I have this convenient actions pop-up, which gives you quick access to the popular actions, which will affect all selected units. Not all of these buttons work just yet, but you can send the units to a clicked point on the map, which then also gives you a visual cue in the form of a flag, just in case you forgot where you sent them. You can fire them, and then they just walk away, swearing profusely. You can order them back to their desks from wherever they happen to be around the map, and you can also call them to your office for a chat. So let's say you, and you, my office now, and off they go. This is your office, or a placeholder, I guess. I've not really made it into an office just yet, and I don't have a U yet either. Work in progress. Okay, so once they've all entered your office, this menu comes up. They're all here. What do you want to talk about? Let's select the topic. Okay, we want to talk about your performance. Okay, what about it? Let's see. It's actually absolutely superb. In fact, I'm giving you an appreciation bonus. Okay, great. Now set the dollar amount of the bonus with this slider and confirm. And it's going to say, do you really want to give out bonuses to people when you're in debt? We're not going to discuss this just now because I've not yet developed the money-making feature. So right now you only have liabilities. You don't have any revenue. Your balance sheet is basically shit. So I'm just going to say, yeah, sure. And you can see that debt has increased, but at least the employees are happy. You can't see it, but what's just happened is their motivation and morale have gone up. And that is very important because those parameters have direct impact on the employee's fighting prowess. The higher the motivation, morale, experience, well-being, and a few other factors, the more damage a unit can inflict on the enemy, and the more resistant they are to enemy attacks. Each unit has an entire dictionary of these parameters, which change dynamically from day to day, just like in real life. One day you are in the mood for work, you're motivated, you're focused, you're productive, and other days it just doesn't click and you don't get much done at all. Some of these parameters are hidden in game logic and never exposed to the player. Others are shown here on the left sidebar when you select units. So you can see that some of these params are in red, meaning that they're dangerously low and you should probably do something about it. So here I'll click on this one and it focuses on the unit, and I can now take action, like get rid of this guy. There, problem solved. I'm currently working on a hiring module so that I can bring more people in. This is a bit complicated because you need to be able to define some requirements and the game needs to match those to the applications, which may be tricky with all those parameters that I showed you. So far, I'm able to deploy desks for new hires, like so. I'm quite happy with how this looks. And next thing after that will be some sort of a business model. I need to be able to make money using the skills and productivity of my employees. So I'll be working on a module that will allow me to get leads and make bids and win new business, provide services and get paid. And of course, the biggest task that is ahead of me is fight mode. The ultimate objective of the game, after all, is to beat Crisis, and that will require some serious fighting on premises, which is going to be cool. So stick around if you're interested in this project, or like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell, and it will alert you when I push out another video. I'm planning to make at least a couple more videos on this project. You can also find me on Twitter, where I post more frequently. Otherwise, enjoy your day, and I will see you in the next one. Ciao!